Hello, 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 hello out there, everyone, and the AKU family. What a glorious day today has been. A great day to be alive. I guess every day is a great day to be alive. Better than being dead, right? So I don't know why people say that. But great day to be alive, specifically if you are a fan of the New York Knicks, which most of the people who watch this show are. Coming off a dramatic game one last night of the Eastern Conference Finals. I was in the building. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me bring Ty in. Joe won't be joining us this week. He's en route to home, actually, to Long Island. But let me bring Ty to the stage. Hello there.
What's going on, brother?
Man, I have to say, last night I probably didn't fall asleep till about 2:30 in the morning because of that game. I mean, the emotions I felt watching it, being there, obviously. So I'll explain just what I'm talking about, just to kind of get everybody on the same page where I'm coming from with what I'm saying. So all day yesterday, I'm monitoring the ticket prices, right? Because I'm like, if it gets to a certain point, this is what I do now. Like, if it gets to a certain point before the game, I'll buy it and I'll go. So I'm watching, and of course, John, our friend John, who used to be on the show, he was going as well. So I'm sitting there and watching the prices. I saw one at the rate. I'm like, oh, I'll get it. Then I went to get it. It was gone, right? So it was gone. So I'm like, damn, I'm not going. So the game started at 8 o'clock. It was probably around 6:30 when I saw the ticket and the price, it hit my price range. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm going. So I bought the ticket. I literally rushed to get ready because I had to make my train. Got on the train, got to the Garden about 15 minutes before it started.
Oh.
And people are still kind of traipsing in, whatever, still coming in, was still quiet. But once everyone got to their seat, like right before the game started, there was that like hum you felt, that hum and that buzz underneath. That was just kind of, you felt it starting to fill and the emotions starting to get better. And it was just an awesome feeling to start the game, sitting there, wait for the game to start. And of course, the introductions are awesome. Everything's great. So game starts, and the first quarter was kind of, they were playing okay. Game was close. They had a big run at one point, so got up, and then we're all getting loud and obviously crazy because I think any point now with the way they were playing before the conference finals was like, oh, once they started those runs, we're like, all right, this is the beginning. We're now gonna take off and do what we have to do. And they were doing okay for a while. Then middle of the second, Cleveland started to come back. They had made a push. Mitchell was hitting. He had a really good first half. Like he was scoring. So you were kind of like, you don't want to get him going because we've seen him go off at the Garden before. Like this would not have been anything crazy. To see that. And then, man, the third quarter was like someone punched you in the gut, or maybe even lower. Like I don't want to, maybe even lower, the area you never want to be punched in. Man, took the air out of the balloon. Whatever cliche you want to use for that, that's what happened. And I'm sitting there, and I'm literally contemplating leaving. Like I'm contemplating going home. Looking at the time, I'm like, all right, if they make a little run, start make a little push. And then they did. Even made a push back. So I was like, I don't know. I'm like, this might be an early night. And then it just happened. Like I can't even explain what I watched. They hit a couple shots, kind of like, all right. They kept getting stops. The run is starting, and like Brunson starts doing what he does. And I've said this to you guys throughout the year in the chat. I can't recall a player like him.
Yeah.
Like he could be having the most terrible game and winning time comes and the switch just flips and he starts hitting all his shots, the confidence. I mean, he is a very unique player from that standpoint. Yes, there've been a lot of players who rise to the occasion, but I've never seen a player be like so bad and then so good. It's remarkable. But yeah, once they started that run with that, I think it was about the 7:40 mark of the fourth quarter, somewhere around there. It just kept getting louder and louder and louder. You could see Cleveland, like the players looking at each other like, is this really happening? Like, are we really And we can get into the breakdown, obviously, of it with
Mhm.
what Cleveland did, what they didn't do. But Ty, um, you probably should get to one of these games, man. You probably should go.
I've been told that in house. I've been told that I need to stop being a cheapskate and
You
come
might
up
want to
with
splurge a little bit,
a
yeah,
little
and
splurge,
go.
forego some meals or whatever. I've been told that I
So
need to.
what were your emotions going through the game? Because we, like I said, a lot of us were very confident going into the series. So with how things started, how were you feeling watching the game?
I have a new routine about watching basketball because I can't do it. I always tell people they get to the finals and they're about to win. I'm probably gonna die. I'm just letting you know. I'm just not good emotionally watching the game. So what I do is I ease myself usually in the first quarter. I usually come towards the tail end, and then I score watch, and then I ease my way into the second quarter because just the jitters and all that stuff over the years, I've just learned how to coast a little bit through basketball. Technically, the fourth quarter is when you either win or lose most of the time anyway. So the cosmetics of the game and all that stuff, I'm like, all right, I don't need to see the intros. Like I'm maturing as a watcher, so I don't go insane. So I was watching the score, and it's funny. I said, for some reason, I said Cleveland is probably going to be ahead by halftime. I don't know why I thought that, but just watching enough basketball, I said
You were right. Yeah.
by 2 points. That was literally what I said to myself. And sure
Yeah.
enough, watching the score, and then obviously I started watching towards the second quarter, but turned away a little bit, and I said, "Watch, they're going to be probably ahead." And sure enough, they were ahead like by 2 points. I'm like, "All right, this is typical. The Knicks are rusty, et cetera, et cetera." You figured this much would probably happen. They were having a hard time getting anything going. They had that one lead at one point, obviously, like you pointed out, and you're thinking, "Oh, okay." How long will this last? I hate early leads. I've always been a person that's like big leads in the beginning. Probably means you're going to lose in the end. It's just how it usually goes in basketball. But when watching that in the third quarter start, I'm like, yeah, this is ugly Wanda. I was like, and I conceded. I said, well, they're probably not. And I text you or message you, and I said, they may not win this one. I was like, they're going to need the most incredible fourth quarter. I said, we got to bank on the fact that the Knicks have been a great fourth quarter team. And I said,
You did say
I
that.
told you, I said, they're going to need it. I wasn't trying to be Miss Cleo Prophet there, but I'm like, well, damn, they did need it because talk about just the emotional roller coaster of being a Knicks fan. I was out yesterday in the streets, in the trenches. And obviously, I always tell people this is like wearing the bat symbol. Everybody who's a Knicks fan they point at you and go, hey, what do you think about the game? I think anybody's a Knicks fan understands that. And I made a asterisk that said if you're like between the 45 plus age group, you handle the anticipation in a different way because you go a little quiet when you go, what about the first game? And everybody's like, shh. It's a hush because you never know how this is going to go. So I just think that we've been trained to kind of say, let's not get ahead of ourselves because I was in a place to eat where I was eating at yesterday, and there were two Knicks fans in there that worked behind the counters. So they immediately said, hey, what do you think about those Knicks? And like I said, that little silence comes over and everybody pauses a little bit, and then it's a little bit like, and let's not get too ahead of ourselves. And I was like, well, yeah, if you're going to go through the bones of everything right now, yeah, the Knicks should win this series. And yeah, we can look forward a little bit thinking like who would the opponent be? And we're just kind of talking about those things like, oh, well, they've been good against San Antonio, not as good against OKC. They played them tight, but never won anything from them yet. So I was like, oh, well, this is what, but we're like, no, don't get too ahead of ourselves. We have to worry about Cleveland, game one. So it was funny that watching the game, all these things are playing over in my mind. I'm like, well, if they lose, we can't overreact. I was like, because we kind of think that they could lose because of the rust. That's a real thing. We wanted the rest. We always said we wanted to be 7 games. Little we know we'd be off like damn near 2 weeks. Oh, like, well, damn, we're back in training camp in 2 weeks. This is not good
Seriously.
at all.
Yeah.
So just watching that unfold, and I've just learned the one thing with Jalen Brunson, and he's just we are always in a game, and maybe that has made me a little bit more of a calmer Knick fan over the last 4 years because this guy just comes on. I didn't see this. I don't know anybody. they're friggin' lying. Nobody saw this. I don't care how big of a fan. I'm a huge Brunson fan, as you know, but I'm like, nobody saw that coming. To watch what I have up here now, Brunson 316, because I was a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan in wrestling, and you always knew that the glass shattered. You're like,
yeah, that's true.
Somebody's getting their ass kicked right about now. So you're just anticipating when he was on the thing to clean the ice skating rinks in Zambui or whatever, or he comes with a beer truck, he's gonna start spraying bastards. It was attack mode. And last night the stunner happened to James Harden. I mean, it was just, you're watching it and you're like, he's gonna pull off this caper. Like, you started once he got it down to like about, for me as a fan, that's like when he got it down to 6, I was like, oh, they about to pack them up. I was like, because Cleveland had no resistance whatsoever, and Brunson's eyes must have got as big as Saturn when he saw James Harden standing in front of him, because he's like, oh, you food right now. You're going to be my whole buffet. I'm about to eat your ass up. And literally, that's what happened, And for people who want to talk about Harden, I mean, Harden's getting butchered right now. And don't get me wrong. He did get his ass handed to him. He got stunned. But he did try to play defense. I think people kind of missed that part about it. They act like he just sat there and put his hands up. What ended up happening, he ended up surrendering after getting bombarded several times and was like, I just give up because I can't do anything with this damn dude. But to bring it back to the point you said, when you talk about the uniqueness of a player, man, I've never been this comfortable as a Knicks fan with having a superstar that I believe can always be the best player on the floor in crunch time. But man, I don't think nobody could have ever granted, it defied the statistics. What they said, 1% chance that this
0.5%. They said the Jets.
Right? Okay.
I read something today that said the Jets had a better chance of winning the 2027 Super Bowl than the Knicks had of winning that game last night. And we all know the Jets are not going to win the Super Bowl. But that's how they had. It was a 0.5%.
Wow, it was a 0.5%
point in the game where that's a 740 point in the game. Yeah.
It's just watching it, and we've seen the heroics of Brunson. We've seen it a lot, and it's why we have a lot of hope in New York. Over the last several years of believing that maybe, just maybe, we can get there one day. And you see this dude come in the fourth in a game in which clearly I watched videos after video today of people who watch games. They're watching the game and recording themselves. And you saw a couple of Cavs fans while watching the game just conceded that, I think it was when one guy hit the 3-point shot and he was like, it was Donovan Mitchell's last 3 probably. And they're like, this is a sealed deal. We're going in the game 2-1-0. And I think mostly everyone conceded that to a point, thinking that they were dead. The Knicks were dead. They were dead. They had nothing going on. And I know they show the footage now of Brunson in the huddle. And I don't know what the hell he said, but damn, he needs to say it every game moving forward, because he responded and they had no other choice. The team had no other choice but to respond and ride with him. And, shout out to Mikal Bridges. I think he went a little bit unnoticed in a sense, because his game was pretty consistent all game. But Brunson was that dude that we believe he is. The most underpaid superstar right now in basketball, maybe Jalen Brunson, because he's come up clutch in a way that I think when we think about all the clutch players in the NBA's history, the Michael Jordans, the Kobes, all these guys who've been daggers and, assassins, this performance ranks right up there. I don't think you can take anything off his polish to not know that this was an anomaly that happened, and thank God he was in a Knicks uniform when it did.
Yeah, again, being there and being part of it, you could feel it. Like, most of us were like, "Oh crap, this is a loss. Like, we're gonna lose." And You see everyone's trying to figure out the math in their head. They're like, well, if we do get a stop,
Yeah.
like everyone's trying to, we're all becoming mathematicians to try to figure out what we need. Oh, it was a wild experience to be there. And like, it really is just an 8-minute difference, and then everything changed. Like, and even going to overtime, like once we got to overtime, I looked at the guy sitting next to me. I'm like, there is no way they're losing this game now. I'm
Yeah.
like, there is no, when that shot by Merrill, and I swear to God,
Yeah.
I was sitting, I'm like, oh no, that's going in. I saw it.
Uh-huh.
And it just rimmed out. And I was like, oh, thank God. And once that shot rimmed out, I said, yeah, there is no way they're losing this game. It was just an awesome experience to just be a part of it. And again, I know your thoughts on going to games, Ty, but honestly, you should try and get to one. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
no, I might
try
have
and
to.
get to one. Especially if it gets later. The finals tickets are probably going to be ridiculously expensive, so that might be if they get to the finals, that might be a little too much. But if you can catch, I mean, obviously not game 2. If it comes back to New York and you have a chance, you might want to consider it. That's all I'm going to. That's all I'll say.
I might do the finals. You never know, because it's just like, I mean, you never know. I mean, it would probably be obviously getting on the pole money. So, but let's just say we are witnessing something. I think as Knicks fans, all these, and it's been a lot of years, even the successful years in the '90s, where we were an extremely competitive force in the NBA. What we're seeing now, I don't want to. It was brought up. I don't want to go Beyonce here, but this may be a team. This might be a Destiny's Child. This might be a team of destiny, because I don't think about this, and this is the perspective I had on the whole thing about the Knicks. The Knicks played their absolute worst game of the postseason. The absolute worst game of the postseason, and they won by 11.
Yep.
That's the perspective of this whole thing. They played their the 1-point games they've lost against Atlanta. That wasn't their worst games. They came up short. We're talking about a team that was dead, had no continuity, no philosophy on defense, couldn't score the ball. Everybody looked rusty, looked tired, out of sync. Carly Towns had 13 points. Just the underwhelming statistical output of everybody collectively as the Knicks. And they won by 11. It's wrong.
The difference, I'll say the couple of things from the game last night. Offensively, they were a mess for the most of the game. But defensively, they were good.
Yeah, absolutely.
The defense kept them in the game. They played good defense for most of the game. Offensively, like I said, not until late, obviously, when they started. They were shooting like 17% for 3 of like most of the game. I kept looking up at the Jumbotron. It was right there, and I'm like, man, they're only shooting 17% from 3. And yeah, it was real sloppy. They were missing shots they normally would make. Brunson was missing shots, or like runners that normally he would make in the first half. I'm like, Jesus, this is just, and I keep thinking like, okay, it's a long layoff. I get it. If they lose this game, it really would be to me because of the rust. They just were not in sync, had no rhythm. Because when you're playing every day, you develop rhythm. They didn't have any in that game. And I'm trying to think, when I was watching the fourth quarter, and obviously the comeback's happening, and you're obviously getting excited, and it's pulling you in. I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at the Cavs players, right? Like after each point, and Mitchell looked confident. He did, I'll say. Like there wasn't a point where he didn't look confident. He didn't shoot confidently, but he had an okay look to him.
Yeah.
Harden looks like he is not involved. I don't care what anyone says. He always looks aloof, even when he was great. Like when he was winning MVPs, to me, he looked aloof. So that's just his face.
That's who he is.
But Mobley, Merrill, Wade, those guys, they were starting to look at each other like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why can't we score all of a sudden? Like what? The Knicks didn't change anything. The defensive scheme was the same. They didn't do anything different. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, it's two things, right? You obviously, they could have been, they definitely were tired. That's definitely a legit excuse for them.
That's
a 7-game series they played 2 days ago. I get it. They were in Detroit. They haven't been back home, like Detroit to New York. I get that part. but you could just tell that the role players on Cleveland were done. Like they were like, yeah, we gave you everything we can at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You guys need to take us home. And Harden and Mitchell just had nothing left either. By the time the fourth quarter came around, they had nothing left. Evan Mobley was probably the only one who was still kind of playing okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say like he was still doing things here and there. He did hit a big 3-point shot at one point. But yeah, man, that just watching it from I was up high. I like sitting in the bridge area when I go, so I was up high watching it, and because you can see everything, right? You can see everything going on. You could see, and it was just very evident to me that they were done at that point. Like they had nothing left, and if they were to win, like Merrill would had to have hit that shot at the end of the game. Like that shot had to go in.
That was the exhaust that came. They exhaled after the Merrill shot because.
Yes.
That they were banking on that being the actual dagger that could maybe give them some rest. But
yes,
you know, I wanted to bring up one point you were saying about how the players were towards the end, and there's some audio footage actually put up, I think, on my personal page. But needless to say, there was some audio footage from I think it's ESPN New York towards the end when Brunson hit that jumper over Harden, and when you hear the roar. Which, if you turn it up when you're on, if I don't give it the computer speakers, I had it on in my car, which amplified it even more. To hear that jungle feverish, I don't care what did Jungle Love by what's his name, Morris Day. I don't care what it was. That roar is intimidating. It intimidated my ears, and I'm a Knicks fan. I'm like, wow. When Brunson hit that shot. I'm more than sure the momentum was felt in the building, and the players on Cleveland probably saying, "What the hell is going on here?" You know, we weren't that. This is not Detroit. This is not Detroit. This is not any other place. New York.
I guess that's the best way I can explain it. Like when they're coming back, it's like a wave, right? Like every shot, it's like it gets louder. You get closer to the shore. You get closer to the shore every time. And then when he hit that shot, that was it. We were just ready, and. Oh man, that noise, I'm telling you, when you're in it, you don't hear it obviously like you would on TV because you're part of it, but everything just sounds like your ears just sound like there's nothing but void. Like there's just nothing there. It was just unbelievable. The other shot that did that was this one.
Go down.
Yes. So think back a year ago.
Yeah, really think back.
Right?
Yes.
We had a shot like that against us.
Yes.
That set the tone in the series. So the question I put here, was it luck on Shaman's part, or was this the basketball gods with karma coming back into play, right?
Well, if you believe the conspiracy theorists, there's magnets in the ball and on the that's like a real running thing on the internet. But man, the guys just love us that day. I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, RJ Barrett had a similar bounce up in I think it was in Toronto. I think at the time in one of the games also. Wow, it's about trusting your work and the mechanics, and the gods did, love Landry Shamet because clearly that one shot, I watched it. I'm like, that's coming out. And then to watch it like say, nah, not quite. And it went right back. And I'm like, that damn thing's going to go in. And it almost slowed down. Like, I mean, watching it on the television, it was in slow motion. You're like, is that going back in? And you like have a second to think about it. And sure enough, it dropped. And I don't think it's just got to be karma for the Knicks. I mean, because we even had no luck like that. We're always on the other end of that, much like you said last year and a lot of years. It's been us that get those terrible bounces by the opponent that comes in and breaks our heart. That's why we're twitchy now as Knicks fans because of shots like that usually end our season or end our momentum or whatever. And I'm only sure that Knicks had a couple of moments, even with the Merrill shot, thinking, oh, here we go again. This is going to be a last second shot.
I know I did.
I mean, I think it was a collective gasp from everyone because I watched them like, damn, here we go. And, you're thinking that. But I just think those kind of shots also, I mean, I do think it's karma. but in the same sense, I think it had to take the life out of Cleveland mentally moving forward to know that the Knicks have just some not just luck, but just some momentum that's like almost seems majestic in a sense because you like can't explain some of the stuff that happened in that game. And Shannon shot, even when the other Shannon shot when you rattled it rattled. It wasn't like as it's thundering outside. In case you didn't know.
Yes.
For anybody who's listening, that was actually God said, "Yeah, it did rattle." No, it rattled, in the rim and bounced around even then. So I guess it's just the God's blessing us, as Knicks fans. We've had our share of crap, and just some good luck, good juju. The fan base needs it. I mean, just a collective energy from the fans. They're in this. The fan base is in this game. They are the 6th man, 13th man, 50th man. I don't care what you want to call it. This is a family event in New York. And I think people as outsiders don't kind of get it, that we've been waiting a long damn time for this to even become somewhat applicable to our fan, our franchise, that maybe, just maybe, we might be in a good position where yeah, it was a hell of a shot, though. Go on, Landry. That's my man. I call him Low Down Dirty Shane. I know I'm put the T in, but that dude is just gritty and grimy. Eric knows. Last night I'm texting him. I'm like, "Where's Shaman? Where's Shaman?" I'm like, "What did he do? He get on punishment?" I'm like, "Put dude in the game simply because he's just about these moments. This is the moments where guys like him just thrive, and he gets hot. You're not gonna stop him from shooting."
A true professional. He is. He's just a professional basketball player. He, like I said, puts in the work. He knows his role on the team. He doesn't try and do too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he did. He changed the game when Brown went to him.
Yeah,
he changed the game. So it actually brings me to my next topic. We've talked about this numerous times already on the show. We've talked about it throughout the regular season. And I don't think Brown is changing starting five. Like we're gonna stick with Hart in the starting five. But it is very telling against certain teams how his involvement in the starting lineup impacts what they can do. And when he's hitting his shot, it's fine. But last night was not one of those nights. He was not hitting anything. They were a negative 23, I believe, with him on the floor. And without him, they were like a plus 40 something. It was some like ridiculous swing in plus minus. So I'm not picking on him. And I like what he brings, obviously. Like we say it all the time. He embodies what like people, when they think of New York and the Knicks,
absolutely.
Josh Hart is that type. Like that's what people think. He's a gritty player, motor never stops. He's, all about effort and energy and everything. That's why he's in the NBA. Those are the things that have made him an NBA player. So, but having said all that, how would you deploy him and this starting five or this lineup going forward in the series?
Well, I'm always the person that you might not change the core of the starting five, and you should change the size of the league. When you're not, and everybody knows I'm a huge Josh Hart fan. I don't do Josh slander, but I'm also a realist about basketball. You hear me say it all the time. I said I'd bench my mama if it meant winning. It's just what it is. So I have no loyalty to nothing but winning. You and I have discussed before in the past. I said there's a legitimate argument that I've had in my mind of just watching the game. I said that to start Landry Shamet over Hart is just realistic in the sense that when you're looking at basketball, I've always viewed it from a perspective of balance. Like you have to have balance on the floor. That's how you win games. That's why a lot of teams that are championship caliber teams who won multiple championships, I don't care what it is, it's because the pieces fit. They fit extremely well in an elite sync level. So when you have guys on the floor, you have to have it so, and I think we brought this up before the series started. I think on our last show, we were saying about having five guys. We said 5 guys who are legitimate threats. And the one thing we brought up, I don't know if you remember, we brought up about Josh Hart. We said if Josh Hart is hitting his shots like he has, then the Knicks become unbeatable.
Yeah.
But he was the one person we brought up. We said if he's hitting his shot, the Knicks become virtually unstoppable. So obviously we fall back. He won't hit the shots. So now you become beatable because now the balance. So when you swing the ball, if you're Jalen Brunson and you're coming off that thing because they're double. Speaking gospel. Not the OKC Thunder, but the Thunder. But yeah, when you look at last night's game, it was indicative of what will happen when you're taking Brunson. You're going to take either Towns or Brunson out of the game. You're going to double them. Therefore, the recipient of that ball cannot go, he can't do that. You can't have no on the back. Like, you can't hesitate. You got to either let that damn thing fly or you're attacking the rim. But you can't be hesitant and all of a sudden now deciding that you're going to figure out whether you're going to shoot or defer or think to defer before you shoot, because that's usually who Josh Hart is. He's a glue guy. He's excellent in transition. Obviously, he's a great utility piece. That's what he is in this league. He's effort and a utility player, capable of doing a lot of good things, but not one thing great. So other than rebounding, that's his great talent. But when you see a guy like him sitting there and all of a sudden you need some relief from the guys that are getting double teamed and make someone pay from long distance in order to keep the balance on the floor great, he doesn't always provide that. And he's a good shooter. He's had great numbers this year. His percentages are on point from the range, but it's the wiring. He's wired to be so team-oriented that he doesn't know when to be. Sometimes you can be too selfless. Sometimes, and you've got to learn when it's your turn to be the aggressor and also be the person looking for your own shot more, because you hurt the team when you don't. And I think Brown last night watched, when you have players like Josh on the floor and they're not scoring and you're not getting out in transition and they're not defending and stopping anyone, then they basically did what you did the other night. You bought a ticket and went to the game because you're on the floor watching, because you're a bystander. You're saying, oh, well, I'll wait till I can get my opportunity. You can't wait in the playoffs. The playoffs is not about patience. It's about being the most aggressive you can be and look to annihilate your op. You're there to dominate your position and win your battle every night. And as a 2-guard, the last time I found out, they said the first word in the 2-guard is shoot. So you're a shooting guard.
That's true.
You can't hold your gun guard. Maybe you have a blank guard. They said you're supposed to shoot the damn thing. So when you don't have a shooter, now you got a watcher. You got Barney Fife. He's just a deputy walking around with his gun, and he's not going to shoot anybody. That's literally, but Landry Shamet, Deuce McBride, those dudes are cocked and ready. They're going to shoot the damn thing with confidence and not think twice. They're going to let it fly. So, yeah, I think it's legit. I think if Hart can't give you Hart things, then you pull Hart. You pull him and sit him down and say, we're going to use you in a different role. Maybe you become the point forward when Jalen goes out and you're a distributor or something like that. He seems to look like he can work with that a little bit better than most guys back up within this rotation. Obviously, ideally, Tyler Kolek would be the guy you'd want to do like some of the backup duties and be an orchestrator on the floor. Hey, Jose's okay. He's not like typical great point guard. He fills in a spot. But Josh Hart does, he can be an all-around player. He can get a triple-double doing a lot of great things. But when I look at it, slow down half court, because that's what happens in the playoffs. You become more of a half-court team.
That's true, you do.
He could be a little bit question mark as far as how much you use him if you cannot get out and run. So,
right. Yeah. I think obviously Brown waited too long to go to that move. Like, he shouldn't. They just became really easy to defend because they just guard him with a center, right? That's what they're doing. They just put a center on him.
Yeah.
And then, everyone else on the perimeter who's being guarded now, they can defend one-on-one. You don't have to double.
Yeah.
So, except James Harden, obviously. We already talked about that. But That it leads me to another point and another thing I saw last night, and it's another thing that guys have been doing all year. And leverage when we were younger, and when it was the age of the centers, when you had Akeem and David Robinson and Patrick Ewing and Shaq and all those guys, the rules were different. So players couldn't use leverage the same way they do now to guard bigger post players. It wasn't allowed. The game has changed, just like everything. The game has changed. So when it comes to how they used Towns last night, they started out trying to use him in the high post the same way they had the season, but Cleveland made adjustments, right? They knew the Knicks were going to try and do that. So Cleveland made adjustments. Cat had a couple of really good finds on the first quarter when they started getting in a roll. They started going to that route. But as the game went on and when it started to slow down and the Knicks started to go they started to go down or they started to lose, they were beginning to lose and they're having empty possessions. Brown never went to a more traditional kind of, okay, let's get him in the main, like the low post. He had a couple of opportunities down there, but there were times where I thought they could have taken advantage of that because they just weren't. And watching the game again, watching how they were setting up and where they were before and the spacing that they had, the Cavs just kept throwing small guys at him to get in his legs. Every time it was Harden, it was someone else to get in his legs. Yeah. And like I said, I don't care what anybody says. He has a big scarlet letter on him for fouls. It doesn't matter if it's iffy, they're calling it. Like, he's getting called. So taking that out of it and just looking at it from a game plan standpoint, I thought they missed some opportunities there, not getting him in down lower in the post where he can do a little bit of work and do a little bit of damage. Because Cleveland showed their hands too with Mitch now, right? Like they clearly are going to foul him until he starts hitting free throws. If he's in the game, they're going to do that most of the time. Atkinson did it. I want to say from like the 6 minute on. Yeah. Every time Mitch was on the floor. So and it sucks because of what he brings on offense. I mean, with the rebounding and obviously his offensive rebounding and things like that, it's hard to replace. But it was a little – I didn't like all the decisions and how they were using some of the players and how they were deploying some of the players. I didn't like all of Brown's decisions from that standpoint and sticking with Hart for a little too long when the Knicks were getting destroyed at one point to kind of stem the tide, pull them out, and again, put in the Shamet or someone else who could shoot, spread the floor a little more. And again, just an observation from me. I do think – there was a lot of rust. We talked about that. I do think there was rust that we saw. Shots that these guys normally make, they were missing. It wasn't just Towns. It was Anunoby. Obviously, he probably had more rust because he was coming off the injury. So who knows how much he really could practice. And then he's still getting back into game shape. And there's a lot of shots that we normally see them make. They were missing. So the rust was definitely a factor. But I'm just looking ahead, like I said, to game 2 and changes they can make. These are the couple of things that I would have done differently. Maybe that they'll attempt to do differently in game 2. Anything that stuck out like that for you last night?
Well, yeah, I think when we bring up Karl-Anthony Towns, there was just some – I mean, I don't know if they're allowed to do it anymore. I'm basketball 101. I'm like, can we have him establish in the paint, and then if he doesn't have it, kick it back out and then reestablish again? That's just feeding the post. I mean, when you watch him, he was catching the ball. And it was just not smart where they were, like, even placing him. Like, it's like, you need to get a little deeper into the gut of the paint because you're catching it almost in that little mid-wingish area, and then you're turning. Now, they're going to come. They're going to bring an extra help. They are playing a smaller guy on you, so that means that off the dribble, you're probably going to get stripped a little bit easier. You're not utilizing none of the back to the basket where you have the clear advantage to be able to just hook shot over someone. I don't like how they established him. I mean, that was I'm just saying, you're on the low block. You're the biggest dude out there. I know some guys are taller than him, but I always tell you, I don't think they know how big Karl-Anthony Towns is. It's like
he's a big guy.
This dude is gargantuan. It's not like he's like some tiny. Like, you look at Evan Mobley, and obviously he looks like he can hula hoop to the Cheerio thing, obviously. But he's not he's not physically. He can't match Carl Towns. There's nobody. Afro Samurai cannot match Carl Towns. They'd have to play him off block the shot, or meet him at the rim with length. So imagine he posts him. Look at what happened when OG went baseline last night on that foray to the paint, and they try to meet him there, and physically he had nothing for him. OG's a very he's not the most fluid person I've ever seen take off on the dribble, and the fact that he was able to physically knock, I think it was Mobley off the block when he went there and just cleaned up the ball. So imagine a guy who's gifted as Karl Towns, and you're saying, just go down there and wreak havoc. Just go down there and physically kill somebody. Literally, it made no sense to put him in that little pinch post area and have him turn, and now he's trying to make a way to the paint. No, just say, hey, we're going to feed you down there, establish. You can't establish, kick it back out. And we're going to feed it back to you once you get reestablished. That causes another double team because now they're going to have to send to, and Carl's an excellent passer. It's like, the game can be simplified. I mean, as much as I love Brunson, ISO Brunson's a great thing and it's not a great thing. It's not a great thing. You can't go ISO Brunson and say, let's be heroic in the playoffs all the time. It's great what we saw last night, but that's not the most sustainable offense you want to end up going all over the floor outside of what we said before, Josh Hart. Josh Hart's the only one that doesn't present an advantage against an opposing defense because he's not offensive like that. He's just not that player. But Karl Towns, if he posts, you got somebody like Landry Shamet or Deuce in the game, and you're doubling Karl, or you're doubling him, and Brunson's trying to make his way downhill at the same time, or OG's in the corner, or McCall's on the wing, Lord have mercy, you're not going to win. You're going to lose that game. So, yeah, I think you always got to look to establish a big guy down in the paint. I don't think basketball changed that much to me. I mean, people can be all obsessed with the three-point shot, but, the high percentage shot in the NBA has always been towards the rim. It's not away from the rim. So when you hear people say, oh, it's a better shot, the hell it is. There's no such thing as a 35% to 38% shot being higher than a 45 to 50%, 65 or 70% shot. What kind of math are they using?
I know. That's what I mean. Like, we're from a different era, and we're from an era where the center position was used as an offensive position. And the game's just different now. And guys, the three-point shot is the shot that every team tries to get. They try and, they actually have a chart of how many threes you're taking.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me. Like you said, to me, get the best shot you can. Like, the closer you are to the basket, clearly that's a better shot than shooting it from 23 feet away. But it's just the evolution of the game, and it's changed. And I mean, to his credit, Towns, like I said, when he first came into the league, he was not a three-point shooter. He made himself into one because he realized that's where the game is going. I have to add this to my arsenal. Mm-hmm. He did.
Yeah, so, he was a post player. I mean, people don't think he was a post player.
He was a post player. So I'd like to see them move him around a little bit more. Again, I still definitely get some high post touches for him that he's been having success with. Gets him on the low block. I hope the refs start giving him a little more opportunity to actually play.
They don't like the
even the one foul that Jared Allen that they challenged him won. I did not see until the replay that he did that, so I'm like, that's fine. He still freaking hit Hart in the damn head. Yeah. Like, with his why wasn't it a double foul? Why was it only a foul on Towns? Like, the replay didn't show that part. They took that part out. Like, why couldn't it be
a double foul? It's like Kanye told Bush, I don't think you like black people. I don't think they like Dominicans, the referees. I don't know what Dominican people did to the refs, but clearly. And Carl's a nice guy from what everybody says. They just don't like Carl.
I know. He's, like I said, he has a scarlet letter now. Like, if it's even a question of if it's a foul, they're calling it on him. Doesn't matter what it is. And reputations get built. I mean, he's not the first. But I think he's the first guy who was an all-star that I remember getting this kind of treatment. Melo didn't get calls, but he didn't get calls like extra calls added to him either. Right? Like,
yeah. Melo didn't get the benefit of the doubt on fouls when he was getting, but never what calls. Like,
no, they didn't call extra fouls on Melo because I felt like we're not real fouls. It's a weird thing with him. But yeah, I think obviously game 2, there's going to be adjustments on both ends, right? Cleveland's going to make adjustments. The Knicks will make adjustments. I do want to say one other thing about Kenny Atkinson because I was a big fan of his. I still am. I still think he's a fantastic coach. He really had a horrible game last night.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right? Like yes, of not calling a timeout, and then the explanation is I like to keep them for what?
Oh man, you know what? Let me tell you one thing. I was thinking about that because we were all we love Kenny. Like for anybody.
Yeah, we do. We love Kenny.
Knows this is the basketball group. Kenny was one of the coaches that we all were like before. Who was it?
Tibbs. For Tibbs.
Tibbs, and definitely with Hornacek. All those guys. We're like, this Kenny. This is the guy. He's a development guy, obviously from New York, so we're gonna always got love for him. But man, I was like, there's two guys that are gonna get the donkey of the day, and as much as Harden is gonna get the donkey and deserves it, Kenny might get 2 damn donkeys. He might get straight in. Let me tell you, I watched that and I felt bad. Now, Craig said he felt bad for Mitchell. My response to that was like, I got something, whatever. Kenny, on the other hand, I was like, Kenny probably should have just never said anything in the press conference. Like, we failed. We got to come back and be better. When he started explaining, as I call it, he started explaining that he had the timeouts. And everybody in Cleveland was like, 1, 2, 3. You have 4. 4, 4, 4, in the words of Moses Malone. Yeah, 4. And you didn't think somebody who I think it was Michael Wilbon said today. He was talking about the atmosphere in the Garden last night amongst the Knicks players as well as Hall of Famers who were watching the game, and some people contacted him, and he was saying that the Knicks had this look on their face thinking that eventually they were going to call a timeout. And when they saw nothing was happening, they're like, he's going to let us keep going? And they anticipated something that never came. And wow, I mean, it was definitely maybe the worst coaching job I've seen in a final, any kind of playoff. It was just, you always call a timeout. Now that was more stubborn than Thibodeau. Because he would do something like that. He was capable of doing something like that too, where we're like, you got the foul. I mean, you got the time out there. Won't you sub out a guy? I just think Kenny kind of got lost in the moment. I think he got overwhelmed as a coach, something you don't usually see from veteran coaches and people that's been in the league. But when watching that, you always call a TO to break momentum. The only way you don't if you're stuck with only 1 left and it's winding down and you just feel like a challenge might need. That's like when guys hold on to the challenge. I'm like, what are you holding on to it for? You might as well use it in situations where you might. But to acknowledge you had them. And then I don't know if this was actual quote because so much AI out there now, but I think he said that he was relied on Harden's defense before and he's been pretty good. I don't know if that's really his. I hope that it's not. I hope it's AI. I hope they hacked you, Kenny. Because I was saying today while I was writing, I said, if there's a South Park in Cleveland, they always shoot Kenny. So I just hope Kenny Atkins does not go anywhere near South Park, Cleveland. Let me tell you one thing. They're going to shoot you, bro. Because I was like, shh, just don't say no more. Just say.
Yeah,
you gotta say anything but the truth.
Maybe the metrics make Harden look good defensively so far, or have made him look good in the playoffs. Maybe their metric, like I don't know, I didn't watch them, but maybe they have. But I'm sitting there and like, screw the metrics. You were watching the game, like
watching it.
He was getting cooked. So I mean, and okay, you wanted to, I wanted to keep my timeouts. Like it's an 18-1 run, right? So maybe when they hit 9 straight points or whatever, you would be like, all right, we need to call timeout. Like I need to,
Dude, it was a bad night for Kenny.
It was. He had a really bad night. He
He
did.
may have had a worse night than any of the Cavaliers overall because, in all seriousness, his job is to win these games
Yes.
and to be very keen in and locked into what's going on. I don't even think it was like a tone deaf thing. Like Tibbs was more tone deaf. Like you watch something and he just had this ridiculous stubbornness about not wanting to change his game plan, not change his whatchamacallit, just be inflexible. A guy like Kenny, I never read like that, but Kenny reminded me of that old cliche about the deer in headlights. You watched him and he seemed like he got lost and was overwhelmed in the moment. Maybe just watching this unfold, going, hit, this is happening, and I think he got caught up watching the game, like watching it as watching it instead of coaching it and maybe he thought they were going to cut off the water, but Brunson was a whole typhoon last night. It's like,
yeah, they didn't they never. Shockingly, they never doubled him. They never tried to get the ball out of his hands. Like I'm watching this unfold, and I'm like, why are they not? And I'm not. It's like I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm happy about it. But the basketball side of my brain's like, why are you not doing something to get the ball out of his hands? Like clearly he's on a heater right now.
And you've got the guy. I mean, it's one thing if this is like Josh Hart is hitting these shots, but you got once again you brought up about Brunson being so unique. This guy has proven that he can have maybe the absolute worst 3/4 of his life and then come back and look like he's like Michael Jordan. Literally, he's like Melo and Michael Jordan combined, and he's like going after him. I mean, not defensively with Michael, but I'm just saying that motor and that he becomes a juggernaut. And it's like, what did you think was going to happen? Once one went in, he should have been like, all right, we're going to take it out of his hand. Same way you foul Mitch. Like you foul Mitch, like we're going to let them get no offensive rhythm. So it's like, well, when Brunson hit one and he's been terrible all game, that's the one dude that you think that maybe you want to say, let's switch on him. Let's send a double to him. We can't let him get any momentum. Because once that first shot went in, I was like, oh, he's going to at least get 6. He's at least getting 6.
The shot that did it for me was the one where he drove and he shot it like off almost the very top of the backboard and went in. And I'm like, okay, that's what I would have been like. All right, time out.
I know.
He's really he's found all the angles now because he was finding angles on his layups and it was just a really pretty. He doesn't have a pretty game, but it was pretty to watch how he worked and how he found his spots and he was able to get to his spots. Yeah, I have no idea what Kenny wasn't doing, to be honest. Was doing. I have no idea what he wasn't doing. I heard someone say today, like, once they were up that big, he was probably, because he's from the area, he's probably like thinking about his dinner after the game, like where he was going for dinner, what he was eating with his family.
Cleveland, like does. I mean, when watching it unfold, I mean, it shows. I mean, obviously Brunson's a brilliant offensive talent, but but the same way I'm saying that is like the league knows that. It's like for Kenny to watch, and then there's a lot of they threw a little heat on Spider Mitchell also because they were like usually, and I do agree with this. There was a time in the NBA. And I don't know what happened to the competitiveness of some of the players nowadays. There's a time where the best player on the other team was like, give me him. I'm taking him. I'm shutting his water off. You used to see that. Like, as great as Michael Jordan is, you saw a guy like Dominique Wilkins, like, oh, I'm going back at you. And Neek always gets like under, like people act like he was just whatever, just dunks. That he was that dude. Like probably if there was no Michael Jordan, he would be Michael Jordan, literally how he could score. So it's like, but he was also competitive. It was like, oh, I'm going back at you. I'm gonna guard you. And I don't know. It's something about I've brought this up, and maybe he'll have a tremendous game 2, which I'm looking more to show believe he's gonna try to. There's just something about Donovan Mitchell when he comes and plays in New York. I don't know, he has these fantastic 3/4. Then he too starts thinking about the pizza in Westchester because he floats off, and it's like, dude, where the hell were you at for the last 7 and 8, 11, 12 minutes from the 7-minute mark to overtime? This dude was MIA. He was in Miami. He was that much MIA, and it's like the weirdest. You have two disappearing acts, two Houdinis, because you got Harden, who we know he already at the strip club. I don't know which one. He's already at the strip club.
Yeah, he's.
And Donovan Mitchell's like, I'm going too, and he disappears, and because I was thinking, oh, when he pulled up for that one shot, I'm like, oh, here we go. This is gonna be a back and forth between him and Brunson, and he was just like, here, James, here, let you cook. What?
I know. Yeah, I didn't get it. And the other thing is, someone brought this up today too. They were like, Harden knew he was getting cooked, so why didn't he go up to him and be like, look, I can't guard him. Like, you guys need to, like, yeah, like we need to make a change here, or whenever they were running through the screen, be like, no, we're switching. Like, I'm switching. You take him. Yeah, it was the diary of a collapse. Like, if you wanted to, in sports sense, write a perfect collapse story, that was it last night. Because as great as Brunson was, and as great as the rest of the Knicks played, and yes, they picked up their intensity and everything, and as great as it was to see, Cleveland lost that game to me more than the Knicks won it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I can be the biggest Homer Simpson, but make no bones about it. Cleveland lost. They just collapsed. It's maybe the worst collapse. I mean, granted, last season we saw the Celtics collapse in 2 games too. Don't get me wrong,
And the Knicks did too. In the first against Indiana, they did.
Yep, and Knicks with Indiana. These things happen. It's just, I don't know. Last night's game may have been the worst collective collapse, probably since the Knicks against Halliburton. And why I say that for, because Tibbs obviously was part of that collapse too as the coach, who just couldn't figure out no way. Because once Indiana was going on their run, you would have thought he would have called a timeout too, and his ass didn't call a timeout. So, and then all of a sudden the shot goes up, and we know the rest. But Kenny last night and the superstars, they just look, or whatever they are, stars or whatever, they all were just like, they took their foot off the gas and you said, we don't got to do anything. We're not doing anything else special. We're just going to prepare because we've won this game. And the Knicks were like, you didn't watch the film from last year when we came back twice, 20 down.
Yeah. And again, I'm sure fatigue was a factor, especially at that point in the game. They had just played 2 days ago. So
why did he call time out for the fatigue too? That's the question. It's like he said, I know my team. It's like Kenny should shut up. Kenny should never.
Yeah.
He should never. He should be like the cartoons, like the bubble that comes over his head. He should just snatch that damn thing down and say, don't read none of my damn thoughts, because don't let me say something stupid.
Maybe he was a little deliriously tired too. Maybe that's what happened with him, because it was real. He had a bad night, very, very bad night. But one guy who did not, and who has been playing great in the playoffs, and I am going to give him all of his flowers, is Mikal Bridges. This playoff Mikal thing is becoming like a thing. It's a thing now. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he doesn't play like this all year. Don't understand it, but he's been fantastic in the playoffs. Again, he was fantastic last year in the playoffs. And yes, there are certain guys who play better in the postseason, and maybe that's just what he is. It's really infuriating if you're a fan of the team, because you see what he's capable of, and you're like, well, why doesn't he do this all the time? It's kind of annoying. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm giving him his props. Mikal Bridges has been everything they traded for when they got him in the playoffs. Like, he has been fulfilling it right now, and I have nothing bad to say about his performance in the playoffs. So there you go. I don't know what else to say. He's been great.
It's one of those players that, we brought up the Mario Ellies and all that stuff, although I think Mikal's way more talented than Mario Ellie was. It's just, he's one of those guys, and playing here with his boys, something about those Villanova dudes when, we obviously looked at it as a little bit of a weird thing coming in when they were starting to put all these guys together, going, the brotherhood and et cetera, et cetera. But we saw with Dante DiVincenzo, who was not playing absolutely great anywhere else. He was a decent, solid player, and he comes in and he gets with Brunson and Josh Hart. All of a sudden, the dude just has these electric moments in the playoffs, while playing together, So I think it's a real thing about the camaraderie with these guys. And we saw last time Mikal looked towards Brunson and was like, in his post game with Alan Hahn, there's one thing he says. He's like, I believe in Cap, and I just think that he was like, I'm riding with him, I'm here we're going to ride this out. If he's going, I'm going. And, I just think when you watch Mikal, there's just a whole different level he goes to when the competition is high, the stakes are high. And I think that's what we're seeing, a guy who wants to play high stakes poker. He don't want to just play regular cards anymore. He needs to have that thrill factor. I brought up in the private chat about Josh Hart mentioning that, in the series prior, Mikal asked the guard, Maxey. That was the thing. He says he wanted the challenge. He wanted to shut him down, and then you're hearing these things like, well, damn, dude, where were you at all year? Like with this attitude. And clearly it's winning time for him. And I think that's when they just kind of, all those guys, when you think about it, I mean, with the exception of Hart, obviously we look at him and we see the brokenness of a little bit of his offensive thing, but the competitive level, the compete level of the Villanova guys is a real thing when it's all on the line. And Mikal, shout out to him. That three with the shot clock coming down.
He hit two of them. Yeah.
Two of them. I mean, the damn dude. And then the steal, the sneaky leak.
Yeah.
He really got, and it was like you could see his eyes widen up on the slow-mo. He's like, oh, he's that dumb. And that's really the look like, oh, he's that dumb? Oh, I'm picking. And you could just see his senses go up. He just zones in. I mean,
it's amazing.
It's an amazing thing to have another different gear. I don't know. You can't.
I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. I'm glad. I trust me, as hard as I've been on them, I wanted it to work. I'm a Knicks fan. I want it to work, of course. Mm-hmm. I want all these guys to be as best they could be. But yeah, this one I can't explain. I have no idea why, but I'm glad. Like I said, I'm just glad.
I'm glad. I'm glad too. Good
so, what do you see? Tomorrow's game 2. Tomorrow night is game 2. Can the Cavs come back?
I want to say when I listened to Donovan Mitchell's post game, and he kind of dismissed it like, "Oh, we'll watch film." And that's we ain't watching that damn film because let me tell you what,
I would throw that film out.
I mean, we know what we already know what the drill was. It's called Heimlich. Y'all choked. And I'm looking at what happened last year to the Knicks, and I told you and the guys, I said, when the Halliburton shot went in, I was like, they're cooked.
Yeah.
My own team, I said, they're not coming back from that. And now I'm on the shore. Cleveland has a lot of pride, and they're going to probably come out and want to fix whatever happens. And maybe they get a game, who knows. But I think it's over for them. And the reason I'm thinking it's over for them because, like I said, the Knicks played their worst game last night of anything in the postseason. Maybe their worst game in the last 4 months. And
that's possible.
And what happened? They won by 11. So now you're going to tell me OG Anunoby now realizes he can dunk and move. He's trusting his hamstring. Brunson said, okay, I'm kind of sharp now, Carl only had 13 points. He had 13 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. Great. That's a great stat line. Not a Carl Anthony Towns great stat line. And Mikal Bridges clearly has found the bridge. So,
And Hart was terrible.
Shamit, not great. Turned it on great later. Deuce didn't have a great game. Clarkson didn't have a great game. So I'm thinking now the Knicks are going to say, we can't. We got away with that in the first game. We know what we need to bring. That was in their A game. That might have been their C- game. last night. So may have been their D. It might have been a D game. I don't even think it was. They should have got their asses completely.
Offensively, it was an F game.
Yeah, it was
Outside of Brunson's late heroics.
Yeah.
Defensively, they were good, but offensively, they were not at all.
Their worst freaking game I've seen to the point, and I'm like, I looked at the score by the time. I'm like, how the hell did they win by 11?
I know. I feel the same way. I can't.
Now they're coming in tomorrow. A game, the rust is a little bit off the car. You know, they didn't oil it up, put some armor oil on the tires. They freshened up the engine. Do you really? I mean, what can Cleveland do? What can they do different than they did the last game?
I don't know how, like, emotionally you recover from that quickly. Like, if they had a couple days, maybe, but you have to play game 2 just literally, 36 hours, whatever, afterwards?
Yeah.
Not even a full. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask.
And after coming off of a 7-game series 48 hours before last night's game, so you have the emotions of that, and now you've had your biggest collapse probably in basketball history for your franchise and as individual players, and now you're coming back in the Garden, which is going to be louder. It's going to be way louder.
Yeah, and this is going to stick in their head. Like, they could, if they start having a bad stretch, they're going to like, oh crap, here we go again, right? Like, that's just human nature. You do those things no matter how you try to block them out and say, oh no, it's one game. Like, that's what Mitchell was saying. It's one game. If we lost by 40 or if we lost by 1, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, dude, do you really believe that? Because that was not a normal loss. Like, if you get blasted by 40 and you were never in the game, okay, yes, but you get blasted by 40.
You were tired from the series before. There's a really good excuse for that.
Right. And or if it's neck and neck all game and you lose on a last second shot, yeah, you were in the game the entire game. But when you are up with 7 minutes left by 22 points and the team goes on a 44-11 run to beat you,
that's the insane part. 44
and there is no way you're not thinking about that today. You're not thinking about it tomorrow. And I mean, I don't know. I really do like Donovan Mitchell as a player and as a person. He seems like a really cool guy.
Yes.
I think he's a phenomenal talent. I've liked him since college. I wanted the Knicks to draft him. Everyone knows I've said this in the past. So all of that stuff surrounding Mitchell, but like you, there's just something missing. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. It's not that I don't think he doesn't love basketball. I do think he loves basketball. There's something missing. And when your second player now is Harden, who we know historically, yes, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, MVP, all that stuff. He's going in. But in the playoffs, like, it's just a grab bag type thing. Like, oh, this is the one we got today. You hand it again, you're like, oh man, not this one. Like, that's what it's like with him. You never know what player you're going to get. And then even within the game, we've talked about this before, like, he'll have a great first half and then not take a shot the rest of the game. It just, I don't know.
There's a lot of evidence with him too, because you look at the stat, the most outstanding stat is that he has more turnovers than field goals in his playoff history. And it's like, how is that even possible?
Exactly. A player of his stature, how is that possible? It doesn't make any sense. And like I said the guy who fears me, who I fear the most on the team is Evan Mobley. I think overall he's their best player by far. He still doesn't have the confidence offensively yet to be that other guy, that scorer. I think he's, like I said, he has another level. And if he ever gets there, I think he could be a Chris Bosh type. I've said it before. I think he has that capability. But he's not there yet. So I don't know where they're going to get that from. And they don't have that. Like, they have Schroeder. Yes, he's, but they don't have that veteran guy that I look at and say, okay, yeah, he's going to get them right. He's going to,
Why wasn't Schroeder on Brunson?
That's what I said too. Why was he not on Brunson?
That's usually Brunson. He's a tough cover he plays Brunson pretty tough. That's why.
Yeah, because he's a physical guard. He'll get up in the your chest and he'll play tight.
He's competitive as all hell.
I know. I don't get it. I do not get it. I don't know what to expect in game 2. except I do expect the Knicks to win. I do expect them to be up 2-0 going to Cleveland.
I hate to tell people,
Like you said, can Cleveland get a game? Yeah, I think they can.
I think they might, but it's funny. My brother, I called my brother. I said after the game last night, and we were talking on the phone, and I said, "Damn, it's like I don't know if Cleveland's gonna get one. I mean, because that's how demoralizing that game.
I know.
Because I'm as a fan, like I said, big Brunson fan, obviously. I know he has game. That what I just saw last night. That was one of the few moments when I think about all the basketball I've watched. Not because I'm a Knicks fan. It's just I've watched enough basketball where I've seen some phenomenal games and things happen, and I'm like, I haven't seen one of these. Like the comeback, how it was, and I'm like, if it's that, like you said, 0.5% that it happens, that means it didn't happen before last night. So it's like
only once before it happened. That's it.
Yeah. So the modern person hasn't seen, and these guys, how I don't want to call them soft, but there is a mental Twinkie going on in the league with these guys that when they get punched a little bit, they go and they really did it last night. When we talk about Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, they went somewhere. They went somewhere and hid because they clearly didn't want to compete down the stretch. Jalen Brunson doing what he did to Harden last night. Harden was like, he had a fallout. He literally was he was shell shocked. And Donovan was just like, well, maybe I'm shocked too. I'll stand on this side and I won't try to take on Brunson either because they don't want to be embarrassed. That's a lot of things we see in the league. Like there was a time where, we seen it with the dunk contest, obviously over the last years. And we see it also with guys not wanting to once again, like I said before, defend the best player for fear you're going to end up on some sort of highlight reel on YouTube. But but why would you even care? Because right now you're on the worst YouTube as the biggest collapse, one of the biggest collapse ever in basketball history. So it's like you're watching that unfold, and I don't know. I don't think that maybe Donovan Mitchell can come back, but I'm on and sure that the Knicks defense is going to have something to say about that because they know that he's going to try that now. And granted, he's better than Maxey, but the Knicks defense, like you said, that didn't suffer because who came in and was giving him problems was Landry Shamet. More than 30 shooters. The dude, I told you I'm a huge fan of his. He's an on-ball defender like nobody else on the Knicks, in my opinion. He might be I think he's their best on-ball defender, and that's over OG and Macau. So you're going to put him on probably Mitchell moving forward and say, hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I expect Brown to be quicker with his decision, like with Hart, if Hart's not playing as well. Yeah. So I'm very interested to see how game 2 plays out, but I do not expect I expect the Knicks to play much better than they played last night. And if they do, I expect them to win. If they go up 2-0, I mean, that doesn't mean the series is over, but the way that the Cavs lost this one, and it's gonna be uphill.
If the Knicks come out like they've come out against a team like they did Philly, or like they did Atlanta in some of those games, Cleveland's cooked. Because if they come out on that mission that we've seen where their point differential was the largest period ever, and they come out with the mission of saying, we're going to take these guys out, we're going to sweep the leg early and often, Cleveland's not coming back. Cleveland may be done in 4.
Yeah,
if that happens in game 2.
Yeah, again, the emotional toll that game took last night it's going to linger for a while, and we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. But man, it was awesome to be there again, and I had a great time. And don't know if I'll get to another game in this playoff run, but who knows?
People that you got to.
Who knows?
You always end up at those games. And what I mean by those games, if people don't know, he's at the mellow 60, whatever, 600 point game. He's at the biggest comeback for the Knicks. So if we want to start a GoFundMe to send Eric to the games, let his ass go to all of them, even the one in Cleveland, because apparently my joke to him and John last night, I told him, I said, you have one damn mission, and that's to bring back the W. We're saying this,
And we did. At the end of the day, we did.
right? As soon as like this conversation went on, it's like, well, damn, maybe they are gonna bring it back. So everybody, GoFundMe, send Eric to the games. He's the secret weapon, clearly, because what a hell of a comeback! You've been at two of the most amazing games in Knicks history. It's kind of crazy, right?
I know. It is kind of crazy. I've had a good record going to games recently too. The past couple of years, I've been to a few games, and I think they've won all of them. I don't think I've seen a loss.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Not from what I recall you going.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to be there. All right, let's wrap this one up. Let's get out of here. I want to thank again everyone for watching us and for going on this ride with us again and for game one. We will be back next week to discuss wherever we're at that time. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about the NBA Finals. I don't know. Hopefully, cross my fingers. That series, the Western Conference series, is going on too. Obviously, the Spurs won game one, so that was a little bit of a surprise, I think. But again, I think OKC had some rust there, so we'll see how that series goes. But I just want to get there. I don't care. I'll worry about that if we get there. That's all I care about right now. So, but again, thanks everyone for watching. For Ty, I'm Eric. You have been watching All Nicked Up, and we will see you next time.